The Community Economies Institute is a non-profit organisation. It was established in 2019. Our main goal is to further research, education and advocacy for community economies. In the Institute, we're interested in economies that support communities. We try to identify economic practices that help people and planet to survive well together. This means meeting our individual human needs alongside the needs of others, including the needs of all our companions on this planet, human and non-human. Our work builds on the foundational assertion that we live in an already diverse economy, that these economic practices are already present all around us. J.K. Gibson-Graham and other diverse economies scholars argue that standard definitions of the economy ignore too much. Often, they ignore the very things our livelihoods actually rely on. We sustain and nurture ourselves and our families through a vast array of practices that are seldom acknowledged by economists. The diverse economy is made up of all kinds of practices. Yes, wage labour and capitalist enterprises, but also unpaid work, bartering, subsistence production, gifting, gleaning and scavenging. These activities take place in cooperatives, community gardens, non-profits, and households. They occur in partnership with the work done by other non-human planetary companions that provide for our air, soil, and water. Our economy is the one we build as we shape our livelihoods. It's diverse and includes not just flows of money, but of all the things that survival is based on. Now, this includes less than ideal economic practices. So the next step for us is to identify which of these diverse practices can enable a more sustainable and equitable existence. Which economic practices offer examples of how to survive well, how to produce and consume in ways that nurture our communities. These are the ones that we want to foster in building community economies. And for us, community is never a closed group. It's what comes into being as we negotiate our shared existence with others. Those others are sometimes close, and they're sometimes distant. Sometimes they are human, and sometimes they are not. As we conduct our work and care for others, as we make decisions about what groceries to buy or what to invest our resources in, as we shape our lives and our livelihoods around the available opportunities, we are constantly entering into relationships with others. We are constantly creating communities. And as a result, there are many ethical decisions to be made. How do we survive well? What do we really need to live healthy lives in ways that don't impinge on others' health and well-being? How do we distribute surplus? What do we do with what's left over from meeting our survival needs? And how do we decide what to do with it? What kinds of transactions do we want to have? How do we get the things we can't produce ourselves? And what kinds of relationships with others do we create while we're doing that? How do we consume sustainably? What do we use up in the process of surviving well? And how can we do this with care? How do we maintain, restore, and replenish our commons? How do we invest for future generations? How do we store and use our surplus for the well-being of people and planet into the future? As community economies researchers and practitioners, we see ourselves engaged in an ongoing process of learning, exploring how to become ethical subjects alongside our human and Earth others. There is no single model for how to do this, and no fixed destination. Finding the path forward is about ongoing ethical negotiations, working out ways to survive well together.